Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 28, Text 4. Ahimsa satyam asteyam yavadartha parigraha brahmacharyam tapashaucham swadhyaya purusharchanam. Translation purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Translation. One should practice non-violence and truthfulness, should avoid thieving, and be satisfied with possessing as much as he needs for his maintenance. He should abstain from sex life, perform austerity, be clean, study the Vedas, and worship the supreme form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Purport. The word Purusharchanam in this verse means worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead, especially the form of Lord Krishna. In Bhagavad Gita, it is confirmed by Arjuna that Krishna is the original Purusha or personality of Godhead, Purusham Shashvatam. Therefore, in yoga practice, one not only must concentrate his mind on the person of Krishna, but must also worship the form or deity of Krishna daily. A brahmachari practices celibacy, controlling his sex life. One cannot enjoy unrestricted sex life and practice yoga. This is rascaldom. So-called yogis advertise that one can go on enjoying as one likes and simultaneously become a yogi, but this is totally unauthorized. It is very clearly explained here that one must observe celibacy. Brahmacharyam means that one leads his life simply in relationship with Brahman or in full Krishna consciousness. Those who are too addicted to sex life cannot observe the regulations which will lead them to Krishna consciousness. Sex life should be restricted to persons who are married. A person whose sex life is restricted in marriage is also called a brahmachari. The word asteyam is also very important for a yogi. Asteyam means to refrain from theft. In the broader sense, everyone who accumulates more than he needs is a thief. According to spiritual communism, one cannot possess more than he needs for his personal maintenance. That is the law of nature. Anyone who accumulates more money or more possessions than he needs is called a thief, and one who simply accumulates wealth without spending for sacrifice or for worship of the personality of Godhead is a great thief. Swadhyayaha means reading the authorized Vedic scriptures. Even if one is not Krishna conscious and is practicing the yoga system, he must read standard Vedic literatures in order to understand. Performance of yoga alone is not sufficient. Narottama Dasa Thakura, a great devotee and acharya in the Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, says that all spiritual activities should be understood from three sources, namely saintly persons, standard scriptures, and the spiritual master. These three guides are very important for progress in spiritual life. The spiritual master prescribes standard literature for the prosecution of the yoga of devotional service, and he himself speaks only from scriptural reference. Therefore, reading standard scriptures is necessary for executing yoga. Practicing yoga without reading the standard literatures is simply a waste of time. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta.
So here we are reading Kapila's instructions on dhyana, process of dhyana spoken to his mother, and continuing the various instructions that he is mentioning. Here in today's verse we hear about ahimsa, non-violence, satyam, truthfulness, asteyam, refraining from theft, yavadartha parigraha, be satisfied with possessing as much as one needs for maintenance, brahmacharyam, celibacy or abstinence from sex life, tapaha, austerity, shaucham, be clean, swadhyayaha, study the Vedas, and purusha archanam, worship of the personality of Godhead. So these are some of the instructions that Kapila has mentioned in this particular verse. And Srila Prabhupada has commented that as we can see, this dhyana process demands that one should practice brahmacharya. So now we can understand that how many people try to practice yoga, but actually they do not necessarily follow all of these instructions, including brahmacharya principles. This is very similar to what Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, also in the 6th chapter on dhyana. Prashanthatma vigata bhir brahmachari vrate sthitaha manas samyamya matchitto yukto asita matparaha. In the Gita also Krishna talks about brahmachari vrate sthitaha. And Prabhupada explains in the purport what is the meaning of brahmacharya. In Rules of Celibacy, written by the great sage Yajnavalkya, it is said, Karmana manasa vacha sarvavasthasu sarvadha sarvatra maithunatyago brahmacharyam prachakshate. So by karmana, by action, manasa, by mind, vacha, by words, sarvavasthasu, in all kinds of situations, sarvada, at all times, sarvatra, in every situation, in every place, sarvavasthasu, sarvadha, sarvatra, maithunatyaga. One should refrain from sex, and that is known as brahmacharyam prachakshate. A very clear, very strong direction given in this purport by Srila Prabhupada. And in this purport, Prabhupada also explains, both in the Bhagavatam and in the Gita, that the process of dhyana yoga demands that one should be a brahmachari. And then Prabhupada coins a very interesting word here. Children at the age of 5 are sent to the Gurukula, or the place of the spiritual master, and the master trains the young boys in the strict discipline of becoming brahmacharis. Without such practice, no one can make advancement in any yoga, whether it be dhyana, jnana, or bhakti. One who, however, follows the rules and regulations of married life, having sexual relationship only with his wife, and that also under regulation, is also called brahmachari. Such a restrained householder brahmachari may be accepted in the bhakti school, but the jnana and dhyana school do not admit even householder brahmacharis. They require complete abstinence without compromise. In bhakti school, a householder brahmachari is allowed controlled sex life because the cult of bhakti yoga is so powerful that one automatically loses sexual attraction being engaged in the superior service of the Lord. So, Prabhupada has coined here a householder brahmachari, a very interesting terminology. And Prabhupada says that such householder brahmacharis are accepted only in the bhakti school, but in the jnana and dhyana school do not admit such householder brahmacharis. So householder brahmachari, Prabhupada clarifies here, having relationship only within marriage, and also even that with strict regulation for having children alone. About 15 or 20 years ago, somebody wrote a letter. We had started distributing books in Kannada. Someone wrote a letter in Kannada from somewhere in Bangalore that I read Prabhupada's books, and I am also from so-and-so, belonging to some community, something that person had written, reader had written. But then I hear that Prabhupada says that in married life, one can have sex only for producing children, and if one is not intending to produce children, one should abstain from sex completely. But this is something very new for us. We have never heard that. Why is Srila Prabhupada so stringent about it? And some things like that. But in the Vedas, it is not prescribed like that. Something like that the person had written. Yes, actually it is true. Normally in the Vedas, which recommends the pravritti marga, enjoyment, enjoying senses, but with certain regulation, but by and large with a certain amount of enjoyment is permitted. But the process of Krishna consciousness, to advance in Krishna consciousness, one has to practice brahmacharya. Even in the householder life, one has to practice brahmacharya. That is what is recommended. And we see here Prabhupada very strongly saying that. And a certain amount of grihastha ashram may be permitted, but even within the grihastha ashram, the principles of abstinence is absolutely essential if one has to make progress in spiritual life. Like this, we find so many instructions. Here we are seeing ahimsa, satyam, asteyam, yavadartha parigraha. Accept whatever basic things that are necessary for maintenance and not be too much concerned about expanding our material necessities. And brahmacharyam, tapashaucham, swadhyaya, purusharchanam, etc. Now, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in his instructions to Rupa Goswami, he brings out something very, very interesting. We know in our Vedic literature there are so many rules are there. We should do this, we should not do this, we should do ahimsa, we should practice satya, asteyam, etc. So many instructions are there. What is the sum and substance of all of this instruction is very nicely captured in one verse from the Padma Purana. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu takes that verse from the Padma Purana. It's also quoted by other acharyas. And then he says, Smarthavyas satatam Vishnor vismarthavyo na jatu chit sarve vidhi nishedhasyur etayoreva kinkaraha. This is like a sum and substance of a conclusion of all of the various sarve vidhi nishedhasyu. Vidhi means you must do this. Nishedha means you must not do this. So many vidhi nishedha are there in the Vedic literatures, but all of them, etayor eva kinkaraha, all of them are meant to serve one principle. And what is that one principle? Smarthavyas satatam Vishnor vismarthavyo na jatu chit. Satatam Vishnu smarthavyaha. To remember Vishnu always. Vismarthavyo na jatu chit. Jatu chit na vismarthavyaha. At any point, one should not forget Vishnu. So always to remember Vishnu and never to forget Vishnu. This is the important principle. And every vidhi nishedha is meant to serve this principle. So this is a very interesting and very important summation. This shows that all Vedas, all the different vidhi nishedha are meant to kinkaraha means servant. Just like when a big man goes, all his servants follow him. Right? And the big man is followed by the servant. And the big man, the big purpose is smarthavyas satatam Vishnor vismarthavyo na jatu chit. Every other instruction, vidhi nishedha, etayoreva kinkaraha, are meant to serve that principle, meant to follow that principle. So, not many times this is understood. Just like in the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, we come across the story of Krishna and Balaram and all the cowherd boys. They are in the forest and they are very hungry. And so Krishna tells the cowherd boys, there is a nearby village and there are many brahmanas there, Vaidika brahmanas. And go and ask them. And they are preparing for the yajna. And ask them for some food. And so the cowherd boys go and ask the brahmanas. And the brahmanas say, no, no, no. We are doing the strict Vaidika yajnas. And we cannot give anything now. You see how they had missed out. Sarva vidhi nishedayor etayor eva kinkaraha. They missed that principle. It is meant to remember Krishna and serve Him. But when Krishna and Balaram themselves have come, they are still sticking on to their rules, but not recognizing that they should give everything to Krishna and Balaram. Then the boys return very disappointed, and then Krishna again tells them, go and ask their wives. They may give. So they are the Dvija Patnis. So they come and ask the wives of the Brahmanas. And the Brahmanas' wives, when they hear, they gladly bring all the food and give it to Krishna and Balaram. So Bhagavatam gives this example to show that how someone can become very, very strict about Vedic regulations, all that, and miss the purpose. But on the other hand, someone could be a simple women, wives. But they had understood the purpose of everything is to surrender to Krishna. So, like this, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu brings out this principle, a very important principle, Smarthavyas Satatam Vishnu Vismarthavyo na jatu chit. Actually, another thing that Srila Prabhupada points out, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu points out, this Smarthavyas Satatam Vishnu. Like this, there are many instructions in the Gita also. Ananyas chintayanto mam, ejana paryupasate. Ananyas chintayanto mam. Always think of me, not think of anything else. All such statements are there. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu points out that satatam Vishnu smaranam, because that is what is recommended here, can happen when one has developed love for Vishnu, love for Krishna. Just like when a young boy falls in love with a young girl, then they are always thinking of each other. Any other way of remembering always becomes a mechanical exercise. And it is not possible. Our mind will be going here and there, and we'll be struggling. So, whenever the Vedic literatures are saying Smarathavyas Satatam Vishnu, always remember Satatam, always remember Vishnu. And here this Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's verse, his instruction, he is saying, every Vedic instruction is meant to serve this principle, which means all Vedic literatures, the intent is to bring the living entities to the platform of loving Krishna. Some of them are direct instructions, some of them are indirect instructions. Because to come to the point of loving Krishna, it requires certain qualifications. It is not very easy. So it requires a certain adhikara to develop that love of Krishna, to come to the platform of loving Krishna. So the Vedic literature, various kinds of instructions are there, so that gradually the living entity can be brought to that level. Some of them are direct, some of them are indirect instructions. But the purpose is to bring to the platform of love of Krishna. Because only on that platform of loving Krishna, smaratavyas satatam Vishnu vismartavyo na jatu chit, is possible. So, we see these things in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Sampradaya, that how all of these instructions are there in the Vedic literatures. To always remember Vishnu, to remember Vishnu, just like we chant, we put tilak. So, every time we put tilak, we are supposed to remember Vishnu. You see, all of these kind of instructions are there to help us and to train us to come to the platform of remembering Krishna. Actually, so this coming to this love of Krishna, to the platform of love of Krishna, is the ultimate goal. Because we are all constitutionally related to Krishna in an intimate way. There is one lecture of Srila Prabhupada that he gave in a 45-minute or less than 45 minutes, maybe 35 minutes lecture. Prabhupada talks 7 times that every living entity has an intimate relationship with Krishna. Each one of us have an intimate relationship. And then Prabhupada says, one of the references there, Prabhupada says, if someone is intelligent and if he has not discovered an intimate relationship he has with somebody, what is the use of that intelligence? Just like, say, for instance, there is a person, we all generally understand that we have a certain amount of intimate relation with our parents. Because we all come from our parents, and parents took care of us when we were small and helpless. So we have a relationship, and we have an intimate relationship. But actually that intimate relationship is on a bodily platform, because in previous life we had another father and mother, and thousands of lives we have had, and thousands of fathers and mothers. And even if the father and mother, they took care of us and they provided so many things, they were actually a link in the supply. It was ultimately provided by Krishna. And our parents were in the link, they were the immediate link they were providing, but they were getting from someone else, they were getting, and ultimately everything is coming from Krishna. So they have an important role, and so we should be respectful to them, no doubt about those things. But if you do a very rigorous analysis, they were only instrumental causes. So, and the ultimate cause is Krishna, and we have an intimate relation with Krishna. Knowing intimately means very strong feelings, and never forgetting. So that is actually the position of every living entity. And to come to that platform, to experience that platform of love of Krishna, to realize that and to relish that, requires extraordinary qualifications. And so, different religions, in fact, including the Vedic religions, all of them are gradually preparing the living entity to come to that platform. That is why Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Ye yathamam prapadyante tamstathaiva bhajamyaham mama vartmanu vartante manushya partha sarvashaha. Everyone is following my path in different ways. So some of them may be coming very fast at a high speed, some of them may be coming slowly. Or somebody may be just beginning to move in the direction. Manushya partha sarvashaha. So all different Vedic processes are different methods of approaching the Lord. But in Krishna consciousness, the essence is taken, and how to very quickly come to that platform, how to come to that understanding has been presented in our sampradaya. That's why our disciplic succession that Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur writes, from Krishna to Brahma to Narada to Vyasa, all the way coming to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and then this recent Acharyas, Jagannath Das Babaji, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Gaur Kishore Das Babaji, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur and Prabhupada. What is very special about them is that essence, they captured it. That heart of the Lord, what is the ultimate conclusion of all of these things? All the different instructions that Krishna is saying. Just like Krishna says, Manmana bhava madbhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru. Always think of me. That Prabhupada explains on the basis of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's explanation that Manmana here actually means that we should love Krishna. Because we have a loving relationship with Krishna. It is not an artificial imposition. It is not something that we have to juggle in our mind, make some intellectual adjustment and come to that understanding. No, it's already present. Everyone, wherever they are born, in whichever species they are in, whichever planet they are in, everyone is related to Krishna in an intimate relationship of love. And we have forgotten that. And having forgotten that, we are looking for love in this material world. And all pursuit of love in the material world will disappoint us. It will never satisfy us completely. So this instruction and the position of the living entity in relationship to Krishna and the true position of Krishna. What is Krishna? Who is Krishna? What is our relationship? And how we are related to Him in a loving way. This is the highest disclosure, highest revelation, which especially in our sampradaya, this has been captured and presented. And so all the acharyas in our sampradaya, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu uses one word, that how the acharya, he is referring in the context of Madhavendra Puri, his guru's guru, because they are the ones who started capturing this and presenting this about Krishna, about Vrindavan, and how each one is related to Krishna. And Krishna is performing these wonderful loving pastimes with his devotees. And that is the highest revelation. Prema parakashta. The standard of intense love of Krishna. Prema parakashta. Parakashta means the highest platform. So the highest standard of intense and intimate love and very sweet love. So these are all the words used by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and Prabhupada uses those words in English to show that we are intimately related. We have an intense relationship. It is a spontaneous relationship, and it is a very sweet relationship. So this is the kind of a relationship that exists between the Lord and the living entities. And the Lord is performing activities in relationship with his devotees in this way, and that constitutes the highest revelation. And Krishna is trying to invite everyone to come and join him in that spiritual rasa. So this was captured by our acharyas. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu received this from Ishwarapuri. Of course, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna himself, we understand. But coming in the sampradaya, he played that role, and he explained this to Rupa Goswami. Rupa Goswami presented this in various Vedic literatures. So Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami describes the glories of Rupa Goswami, who is in our sampradaya, who presented these things. There are a few verses that describes Rupa Goswami. This is beautiful poetry by Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami. Vrindavaniyam rasakeli vartham kalena luptam nija shakti mutkaha sancharya rupe vyatanot punassa prabhur vidhau prag iva loka srishti. Bhagavatam also describes in the very beginning that the Lord, Prabhu, vidhau prag iva loka srishtim. The Lord revealed in the heart of Vidhi. Vidhi is a name, another name for Lord Brahma, because Brahma gives various regulations. So, Vidhi nishethayor, etayor eva kinkara. Vidhi means various regulations, and Brahma is the one who gives various regulations. These various regulations are given by Brahma, and he is the giver of those regulations, and that's why he is known as Vidhi. And unless these regulations are followed, this enlightenment will never come about in the human society. As human beings, we are competent for understanding this higher enlightenment. But if we don't regulate our life, we will not be able to receive that enlightenment. That is why Brahma, when he created this world, he also gave the Vidhis. And so he is known as Vidhi. So, Loka Srishtim, the Bhagavatam describes that in the beginning of creation, for the sake of Loka Srishtim, for the sake of creation, the Lord manifested the Vedic wisdom in the heart of Vidhi. Brahma. Prabhur vidhau prag. Prag means in the beginning, in the very beginning. Loka srishtim vidhau vyatanot. He manifested. The Lord manifested Vedic wisdom in the heart of Vidhi. Who manifested? Prabhur vidhau prag, in the beginning. In the same way, Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami is writing, Vrindavaniyam rasakeli vartham. Vrindavaniyam rasakeli. Rasakeli means Krishna's activities which are endowed with spiritual rasas. And vartham, and information about that. Vrindavaniyam rasakeli vartham. Kalena luptam. In due course of time, it was lost. Krishna personally came and revealed that. A few devotees realized that, understood that. Not everybody, few of them. And in due course of time, kalena luptam, it was lost again. And so, in order to vyatanot punaha, in order to manifest that once again, what did the Lord do? Nija Shaktim. And this desire to manifest that utkaha, the Lord was eager. The Lord was anxious that once again that Rasakeli Vartam, Vrindavaniyam Rasakeli Vartam should be made available in the human society. Utkaha. And he was anxious about it. And so what did the Lord do? Now he appeared as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he Nija Shaktim Sancharya. He Sancharyate is to infuse in the heart Nija Shaktim, his own spiritual potency. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu infused his spiritual potency in the heart of Rupa Goswami. Sancharya Rupe Vyatanot Punassa, in order to manifest that Vrindavaniyam Rasakeli Vartam. So, this is how Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami writes, Vrindavaniyam Rasakeli Vartam Kalena Luptam Nija Shaktim Utkaha Sancharya Rupe. So, Rupa Goswami, these acharyas, they are very, very special, very specially empowered. And in order to manifest that Rasakeli Vardham, the Lord infused in his heart spiritual potency, just as the Lord has infused in the heart of Brahma the Vedic wisdom at the beginning of Loka Srishtim. After saying this, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami later on, this is the chapter on Chaitanya Mahaprabhu instructing Rupa Goswami. And later on, much later, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says, Shri Rupa Hridaye Prabhum Shakti Sancharila. In Rupa Goswami's heart, Prabhu, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Shakti Sancharila, same, Sancharya Rupe, he infused in his heart Shakti Sancharila. Because of that, what was Rupa Goswami able to do? Sarva Tattva Nirupane Praveena Karila. Because of this, Rupa Goswami became Praveena, became expert. Sarva Tattva Nirupane, in ascertaining, Nirupane, in understanding and presenting it, in ascertaining what is the ultimate message of the entire Vedic literatures. So many Vedas, so many Puranas, so many Upanishads, so many Samhitas, so many Vedic literatures are there. What is the essence of all of them? Sarva Tattva Nirupane Praveena Karila. So Rupa Goswami became Praveena, expert, because Prabhu Shakti Sancharila, he infused in his heart his divine potencies. And then the third verse, very interesting verse, very beautiful verse, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, he is known as Kaviraja because he was able to compose very, very beautiful verses, both in Sanskrit and Bengali. He was very great scholar in Sanskrit and Bengali. He was able to compose so freely. And in the next verse, again about Rupa Goswami, he is saying, this is a very, very interesting, Priyaswarupe, Dayitaswarupe, Premaswarupe, Sahajabhirupe, Nijanurupe, Prabhurekarupe, Tatanarupe, Swavilasarupe. He's playing on the words Rupa, Rupa, Rupa again and again in different ways. Priyaswarupe. Rupa Goswami was also very dear to Swarup Damodar. Swarup Damodar was a very confidential associate of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He was always close to him, always reading the right verses from the Bhagavatam, because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would be in different moods and different times, and knowing the mood of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Swarup Damodar would take the verses from the Bhagavatam and read them, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would be in great bliss, relishing those verses. In the last chapter of Chaitanya Charitamrita, this is described how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu spent his years and years simply absorbed and relishing the verses of the Bhagavatam. That's how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, simply just chanting those verses, he would relish the sweetness in the verses. And Swarup Damodar was there. They would immediately read those verses from Bhagavatam, sometimes from a few other Vedic literatures, and all of them, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would just be relishing them. So that Swarup Damodar, who would quickly understand Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's moods, great devotee, Rupa Goswami was very dear to him. Priyaswarupe, Dayitaswarupe. Dayita means beloved. And Rupa Goswami is described as Dayitaswarupe. He is the embodiment of the beloved of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So he is an example, a striking example of somebody who is beloved of Chaitanya. That is why he is described as Dayitaswarupe. He is the Swarupa of the beloved of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Priyaswarupe, Dayitaswarupe, Premaswarupe. And he is the embodiment of the love of Krishna, love of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sahajabhirupe. And it is also said that Rupa Goswami was very beautiful. He had very beautiful features. Sahajabhirupe. His form was very, very beautiful. Nijanurupe. Very important instruction, very important verse. Nijanurupe, Nija Anurupe. Rupa Goswami was such an expert. He properly, very, very carefully and exactly followed the principles given by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Nija Anurupe, follower. He was a true follower of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. You see? Nijanurupe, Prabhureka Rupe, Tathana Rupe. To that person, Tathana, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explained Swavilasa Rupe and empowered him to Swavilasa Rupe, the Lord's Vilasa, to explain the Lord's pastimes. He empowered him. So Swavilasa Rupe. So that was the position of Rupa Goswami, who was able to explain, because he was Nijanurupe, he was Premaswarupe, he is Daitaswarupe and Priyaswarupe. So such a Rupa Goswami, he is in the parampara, he captured the heart of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, understood that and presented in his various literatures. And that is how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission was established in this world. All of the Goswamis established the mission, and further many other acharyas like Jagannath Das Goswami, Jagannath Das Babaji, Gaur Kishore Das Babaji. They lived very, very simply. They were lived in extreme simplicity and austerity. They never had any big ostentatious position or such things. But at heart, they had captured love of Krishna. They were in that prema parakashta. So these are the great acharyas who came in disciplic succession, and they presented this, and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who understood that and presented that in more contemporary words, and further in simplification and readily in an understandable manner, Srila Prabhupada presented that all over the world, created an institution, wrote books that we can understand, we can benefit from. So here we are seeing Kapila writing giving so many instructions, ahimsa, satyam, asteyam. Now here is Rupa Goswami, an example of Nijanurupe, a true follower. So we see, if we follow the instructions given by Srila Prabhupada, who has distilled all of these, we will also be able to come to that platform of love of Krishna. Bring us to that platform by purification, by Prabhupada's mercy, by the spiritual master's mercy, and be able to experience and understand these wonderful confidential aspects of the Bhagavatam. We'll stop here. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.